Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Round Lake Area Public Library's new food series, Feed Your Mind and Body. This time we're going to talk about tomatoes, the different types, how to use them, and how to grow them. They can be an excellent source of vitamins and fiber, are delicious in a variety of formats, and cheap to purchase, and even cheaper if you grow them. There are many different varieties of tomatoes. Some are better than others for various recipes. Beef steak are great for slicing tomatoes because they're full of seeds and moisture, but not a lot of meat. Romas are best for sauces and pastas because they have a lot more meat inside of them. Cherry, grape, or pear tomatoes are perfect for snacking or in salads. Heirloom tomatoes can be used for almost all of these things, plus they have a much stronger flavor, but they may be a little bit more expensive. Fresh tomatoes are delicious, but canned tomatoes are processed at the peak of ripeness, and they can be used in an array of different ways that make quicker meals than if you had to cook down fresh tomatoes. We're going to be making two very similar things today with our canned tomatoes. First up is marinara. Basic marinara sauce is incredibly easy. Some of the ingredients vary from recipe to recipe, and you can make changes to your marinara to suit your taste, like skipping the added sugar or adding vegetables like mushrooms or zucchinis, or maybe you can't eat garlic. I prefer oregano in my marinara, but basil is also very popular. You will have both options for your marinara included in your bag. Sam is going to make a very small batch of marinara by cutting the recipe in half and using half of all the ingredients. Some of the onions that we got were massive, so instead of cutting it in half, Sam's going to quarter it for her marinara. You want to cut up your onion so that it's diced. We're going to saute it, which will make it softer and bring out the sweetness, but we don't want large chunks in the sauce. Next up, Sam prepares the garlic. She starts by cutting the ends off, then crushes the clove with the back of the knife. This breaks down the paper protecting the garlic so that you can just pull it easily off. Now she can finely dice the garlic. This will also be sauteed with the onion, which will soften it up, but we really want tiny pieces in the marinara. Now we're ready to melt the butter in the pan over medium heat. Swirling it around the hot pan helps it melt faster while covering the surface of the pan. Once it's all melted, we can add our onions and garlic. We are going to cook the onion and garlic in the pan until it's just starting to brown and sizzle. Sam adds the tomatoes next with a nice big blorp into the pan, getting sauce everywhere. Sauce everywhere is part of the process. Right about now, the aroma of the marinara will be fantastic. Thankfully, this all cooks fast, so you can eat it very soon. You can also store extra and make larger batches to jar and refrigerate for later use. We're not going to get into canning today. We could do an entire program just on canning, so suffice it to say that you can jar and keep it in the refrigerator for a couple months. She adds the herbs, salt, and pepper to the sauce and stirs to combine, letting it simmer, and all the flavors will mix for about 3 minutes. You have to stir this frequently, though. Making this sauce to our personal specifications is hard to put a price on, but let me break it down for you. This 28-ounce can of tomatoes is 99 cents at Aldi, but I went to Woodman's and paid $1.79. The rest of the ingredients are probably things that you have around the house, so marinara costs under $2 for homemade goodness. Store-bought marinara comes with all kinds of extra things you don't need, like sugar and preservatives, so you're doing yourself a favor by making it yourself. Now that the marinara sauce has come together, it's ready. If you decide to grow your own tomatoes, here are a few tips. Tomatoes are warm season crop, meaning they grow in the summer. It varies by type of tomato, but they can be between 45 and 85 days to mature. You should plant them in mid-May to avoid frost, although you may need to cover them at night to help protect them from it. Tomatoes can grow up to 20 feet long, so they will need support like stakes or cages unless you have space for them to just spread out. Growing them on the ground can mean less work, more tomatoes per plant, and they are less susceptible to blossom end rot. If you use stakes, however, it can be easier to pick the tomatoes and they're cleaner and there is no loss from soil rot. Either way, tomatoes need full sun and rich soil. Mulch helps, and you should add fertilizer when the plants begin to flower. Tomato plants need even watering, about an inch a week, and good drainage. Tomatoes may split if overwatered or develop blossom end rot from a lack of moisture. According to the experts, tomatoes pair very well in recipes that also include the following: cheese, eggs, basil, and other herbs like cilantro, oregano, thyme, rosemary, things like that, onions and garlic, hot or sweet peppers, mayonnaise, as in the ever popular tomato sandwich, other berries and some fruit like strawberries, watermelon, and peaches, cucumbers, and other types of squash like zucchini. Now we're going to make salsa. Again, recipes will vary greatly, and you can tweak these to meet your personal taste. We are going to make a simple salsa today with canned tomatoes, onion, cilantro, jalapeno, salt, and a blender. Some people like to roast their tomatoes and jalapeno before adding them, which is delicious. And you can also add garlic or other spices to alter the flavor as you like. For the cilantro, a lot of people, like me and Sam, don't like to eat the stems, although they are perfectly safe and have the same flavor. You can cut your cilantro with the stems or remove the leaves and chop those, like Sam is doing. Sam is getting started by cutting up her onion. She's going to do a rough cut for these because we will be blending them, but we want relatively small pieces going in. For the jalapeno, you can adjust the amount you add depending on how hot you like your salsa to be. The hottest part of the jalapeno comes from the ribs inside, so Sam removes the seeds and ribs before she starts chopping the jalapeno. Once these three are chopped, we add them to the cup with the tomatoes and we're ready to blend. You don't have to blend your salsa. You could just leave everything diced if you like it chunky. We're using a hand blender, also called an immersion blender, but you could use a regular blender or a food processor as well. Sam blends this on low so that it does not go everywhere because it is not marinara and it is not part of the recipe. You can blend to your desired consistency, be it fairly chunky or downright soupy, whatever you like. And there we have wonderful fresh salsa for a hungry group, or just you, no judging. Again, the cost on this is going to be around $2, which you really cannot beat. We hope you've enjoyed our presentation on the glorious tomato and try new recipes with this lovable fruit. Thank you.